The 5 years before you're retired and after you retire are known as the retirement red zone, and they may be the most dangerous decade in your financial life. Why? Because making the wrong investment decisions in this window can permanently derail your retirement plan. And here's the twist. It's not just about avoiding risk. It's about managing the right kind of risk. Today, I will break down 5 options you have to help yourself against this risk. Hi, I'm Eli, a certified financial planner and the host of the Data Brief series, where I help you learn about investment decisions based on data, not your emotions. Today, we're unpacking the retirement red zone, the critical 10-year window that stretches from 5 years before retirement through 5 years into retirement. And while you might think that this is the time to get ultra conservative, the data shows that taking too little risk can be just as dangerous as taking too much risk. Let's dive into what makes the retirement red zone so unique, the biggest risks investors face during this time, and what you can do to navigate it wisely. The retirement red zone is a term to describe the 5 years before and 5 years after retirement. This 10-year span is critical because your portfolio is most vulnerable to sequence of return risk. The risk that poor market performance early in retirement could permanently reduce your future income. Here's why it matters. Imagine you retire with $1 million portfolio and you start withdrawing 4% per year, $40,000 annually. If the market drops 25% early in your retirement, your portfolio is now worth $750,000, but you're still withdrawing $40,000 a year. That 4% withdrawal just became 5.3%, and the portfolio has to work that much harder to recover. And all the while, you're continuing to take money out. Now imagine the exact same market return, but the bad years come later in retirement, not early. In that case, your portfolio has more time to recover and grow before the downturn hits, and your outcome is dramatically better. The timing of returns matters more than the average return. Let me say that again. In retirement, the timing of your returns matters more than the average return. So what's the solution? Just get ultra conservative in retirement? Well, not quite. Going too conservative, say shifting everything to cash and bonds, can lead to another problem, longevity risk. That's the risk that your portfolio won't keep up with inflation and that you outlive your money. Remember, retirement is not a 5 or 10-year journey. For most couples retiring at age 65, at least one spouse has a 50% chance of living into their 90s. That's a 25 to 30-year investment horizon. Playing it safe can erode your future purchasing power. A study by Morningstar showed that portfolios with too heavy of a bond allocation in early retirement had a much higher risk of failing to meet their long-term income needs, especially in inflationary periods like the 1970s. Let's revisit sequence of returns risk real quick because it's the main villain in the red zone. Here's a quick example to drive it home. 2 investors both earn 7% annually over 25 years. One has poor returns early and strong returns later. The other has the reverse, strong returns early and poor returns later. If neither is withdrawing, they end up with the same ending balance. But if they are withdrawing at 4% per year, the one who had poor returns early runs the risk of running out of money. The one with poor returns later has a much lower risk. So it's not just the returns that you get, it's when you get them. That's why the retirement red zone is all about protecting yourself from bad timing. So what can you do? Here are 5 smart strategies for navigating the retirement red zone. Number 1, build a bucket strategy. Divide your portfolio into 3 buckets. Short-term, 1 to 2 year money. That could be cash or short-term bonds to cover your income needs now. Mid-term, 3 to 7 years, could be something like intermediate-term bonds or conservative income strategies. And the third is long-term, 7+ years. This is typically something like stocks or growth assets. This gives you flexibility so you won't have to sell stocks in a down market to fund your expenses in the short term. There are many ways you can do this and tons of investment products that make this possible. I just use these assets as an example for the video. When speaking with retirees, I often find that people will forget that some of their money is for the short term, but also some of their money is earmarked for 30 years from now. Having the right mindset by using something like the bucket strategy can help you understand it is okay to have some part of your portfolio that is in a higher risk asset. Number 2, consider a guardrail withdrawal approach, or stated another way, have an income plan in retirement. Instead of a flat 4% rule, use guardrails. For example, increase or decrease your withdrawals based on market performance. That way you avoid overdrawing your portfolio when the market is down. Research by Guyton and Klinger showed that flexible withdrawal strategies dramatically improve portfolio survival. I broke this down in another video that I will link here. Another study by Rand Corporation found that if a retiree has guaranteed income, they actually live a happier, healthier, and longer than those who don't. Guaranteed income can come from Social Security, pensions, or any form of investment tool that guarantees the income, something like an annuity. Number 3, don't overshift to bonds or lower risk investments too early. Remember, your retirement could last 30 years. If you're 65, you may want to maintain a meaningful allocation to stocks, especially for the portion of your portfolio that you won't need for 10 or more years. Number 4, have a plan for big purchases. Large one-time expenses like a home remodel or helping kids with education can have a big impact if it's poorly timed. Plan these carefully, especially if the market is down. Number 5, rebalance consistently. As markets fluctuate, your portfolio drifts. Rebalancing forces discipline and often results in selling high and buying low, the opposite of what many investors do emotionally. If you don't know what this is, you can click here. Rebalancing is extremely important for a retiree's portfolio, and there are ways to do it poorly and ways to do it well. So if you don't know about it, go watch that video. So changing gears to discuss something else, and this may surprise you. You can actually increase your investment risk later in your retirement, and here's why. As your time horizon shortens and your life expectancy declines, the impact of a bad market year diminishes on your portfolio. In other words, someone at age 85 can afford to take more risk with a portion of their money than someone at age 65 because they don't have to draw on it for the next 30 years. Maybe it's just 10 more years. That doesn't mean that they should go all in on stocks later in life, but it does mean that you can selectively tilt a little bit more towards growth, especially if legacy or gifting is a priority for you. The retirement red zone is a critical decade where every decision counts. It's the tightrope walk between taking too much risk and not enough risk. It's not about avoiding volatility, it's about controlling the impact of volatility when it matters most. So, what can you do? Create a plan that accounts for market timing risk, diversify your withdrawals from different investments, maintain enough growth to beat inflation, and above all, stay disciplined when the market gets rough. Because the most dangerous thing in the red zone isn't the market, it's reacting emotionally at the wrong time. That's it for today's Data Brief video. If you found this helpful, maybe you'd consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who's approaching their retirement. Let's make smarter decisions with data and not emotions. Thank you.